Bro, imagine for a moment that you walk into your local freedom shop, you select the new toy that you want to play with, you pay for that new toy, and then you walk out of the freedom shop that same day with your new toy in hand. There's no more waiting period. There's no waiting 3, 7, or 31 days for your new toy to come home with you. Yeah, that is almost going to become a reality for millions of Americans across the entire country, because there was a federal judge that just ruled that waiting periods are unconstitutional and should be banned. Y'all are going to want to stick around for this one. Listen, if y'all enjoy content like this where I bring you Second Amendment news, consider hitting that like button. And if you really want to stick it to the anti-freedom loving platform that you're watching this video on now, then consider subscribing and sharing this video to all of your social media channels. That way they cannot suppress this message any more than they already have. All right, y'all, let's get into the video. So the state of Maine just came out and they tried to make gun buyers wait 3 full days, 72 hours before they can get their new toys. But there was a federal judge that said, nope, that's unconstitutional and that's not going to happen. And for the moment, he has put a temporary stop to this unconstitutional waiting period. The judge came out and said that the waiting period violated the Second Amendment, and that's why he ruled it unconstitutional. But let's not forget, this unconstitutional waiting period also directly violates the Bruin decision, because for those of you that don't know, or for those of you that may have forgotten, the Bruin decision was when the Supreme Court came out and said that the government must demonstrate that the regulation is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. And folks, it's as clear as day that this waiting period that some of us have to go through, well, not all of us, because some of us can leave that same day with our new freedom sticks, just saying, is clearly in direct contrast to our nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, dating all the way back to when the Second Amendment was written. So let's step back for a moment and let's talk about how this actually came about, because Maine wasn't always a waiting period state. But a couple years ago, there was a tragic event that happened in the state of Maine. And unfortunately, one of their responses to prevent this tragic event from happening again was to install a waiting period for everyone. Well, everyone except criminals, because criminals can obviously get their new toys that same day. So everyone that is a law-abiding citizen now has to abide by this 72-hour waiting period. 3 full days after you make your final payment, well, then you could take possession of your new freedom stick. But that's where Judge Lance Walker, he came in and he wasn't having any of this nonsense. As a matter of fact, in his ruling, he said that the waiting period was indiscriminate and it put an unfair burden on law-abiding gun owners. Basically, he argued that if you have a constitutional right to own a gun, why should you have to wait 3 full days? Why should you have to wait 7 full days? Why should you have to wait 31 full days to exercise that right? But unfortunately, Maine's Attorney General isn't having any of this, right? And he's not giving up. He's already pushing back and saying that waiting periods exist in a dozen other states and have been upheld in other courts. And I actually find myself in a peculiar situation because I'm actually rooting for the AG to file a lawsuit against our judge to keep this case tied up in the court system. And you might be thinking, Florida Patriot, what the hell are you smoking? Hear me out. The longer we can keep the case tied up in the court system, the better chance it'll have of actually making it to the Supreme Court. Because the more mixed rulings we have throughout the entire country, the better the odds are that eventually the Supreme Court will take up the case. And we all know that the Supreme Court is probably one of the most 2A friendly courts makeup that it's been in a very long time. We'll see what happens. Only time will tell. And speaking of time, I think it's time to end this video. But before we go, do you think that this ruling from Judge Lance Walker was a win for the Second Amendment? Or do you think that it was a bad ruling and that it puts the public in danger? Drop a comment down below. Let me know. Let's keep that conversation going down there. And hey, listen, I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate y'all supporting this channel. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for being here with us this entire time. I appreciate y'all. And don't forget, I'll see you at the next gun show. Take care, y'all.